कितना टाइम एक एक्टर के लाइफ में ऐसी अपॉर्चुनिटी आती है दैट यू गेट टू प्ले वन अ लेजेंडरी पर्सन?
जैसे महात्मा नाम सुनते हैं सबके दिमाग में सिर्फ महात्मा गांधी ही आते हैं,
बिल्कुल, हाँ,
ज़्यादातर. सो ही वाज द फर्स्ट महात्मा. आई वाज थ्रिल्ड. और जब पूरी कहानी पढ़ी, सुनी, पूरा नरेशन दिया सर ने, सो देयर आर सो मेनी पॉइंट्स दैट मूव्ड मी. I literally got goosebumps.
I was very thrilled to work with Ananth sir. Of course, I read about Savritibai Phule back in school, and she is this humongous figure in Maharashtra.
What stood out, Ananth, for you personally about their story? You know, there were reforms, there was education, there was equality, so much they did for the society. Personally, what stands out for you?
Today we are still fighting gender discrimination, we are still fighting education for women, we are still fighting equality, casteism, everything that you can name. That was what made me, you know, choose this subject, because like I said, it's shocking that they remain relevant even today, and we are of course following in their footsteps to make society, you know, a better place to live.
Since you only said, you know, they were worshipped, and when you're playing someone who's worshipped by so many, it's a bit of a responsibility also, you keep in mind.
It's scary. It's you're questioning yourself every day. I mean, are these the shoes that you really want to fill in? I had met a very senior Marathi actress, and she took me to her side and she told me, listen, I hope you understand what you're doing.
These things are.
And it was obviously, you're scared, but I just feel like Ananth sir, he was so clear about the material he had.
Welcome to Bollywood Hungama. You know, especially after watching this trailer, when I was called for this, I jumped on this opportunity. So, such an important subject. I'll start with you, Ananth. You know, you've made so many commercial films over the years. This is one of the most important stories of India. Why do you think, you know, this was made in parts and in smaller stories back in the days? Why do you think nobody has attempted? Why this story is not out there for the world to know?
I guess they left it to me to make it. So, you know, sometimes I feel very fortunate, because the last film I did, Storyteller, I mean, it was such a beautiful story. I wondered why Satyajit Ray didn't make it, you know. So maybe it's one of those, somewhere we are destined to make cinema that would leave its mark as a milestone. And it was very interesting, because I had actually started working on a one-woman play for Nadira Babaji, and we were writing the script on Savritibai Phule. So then Anuya and Ritesh, they called me and said they had this idea to do you know, a film or a series on Phule. So I said, just hang on there, I'm just working on this, and it's a coincidence that you called. You know, it's like, probably that's what I said, there's some kind of you know, destined kind of thing for this film. And we took it up from there, and I was glad that a producer comes forth with the idea rather than a director going with the idea to a producer. So that itself was a very good positive sign. And that's how it took off. Then of course we sort of plunged into a lot of research, and we got our team together, our writers team together, and we started working on it. And it wasn't easy, because there was volumes of you know, material on the Phule couple. And how do you make a film which is, say, 2 hours 15 minutes? So we had to filter off a lot of things, much to, you know, not to our comfort, but then we had to keep the most important things, and that's how this whole film came into being. But even as we we were progressing with the writing and the pre-production of this film, we knew that this was affecting us and impacting us in a very big way. And if we were being so moved by it, we were being so impacted by it, we were sure that we would pass on this energy to the audience.
Amazing, you know, I'm sure you will. You know, congrats for Dhoom Dhaam, we all enjoyed it thoroughly. You know, ये of course बहुत ही अलग फिल्म है. कितना टाइम एक एक्टर के लाइफ में ऐसी अपॉर्चुनिटी आती है that you get to play one a legendary person? टू बहुत कम ऐसे कपल्स थे जहाँ, यू नो, मेल फीमेल एक्टर दोनों को इक्वल इम्पोर्टेंस, इक्वली इम्पोर्टेंट स्टोरीज ऑफ इंडिया. हाउ डिड दिस टेक शेप? व्हेन डिड यू कम ऑन बोर्ड?
So I guess I came on board at a later part.
Okay.
When they decided to make a film.
Okay.
And then I guess sir approached me and he said that this is the script, this is the film and the character that I want you to play.
Wow.
I was thrilled.
Excited.
The moment I heard about it. Because in school also we have just learned some part of their work.
Chapters.
Some reforms that they've done. और तब से सिर्फ it's just a one little faint memory in my mind about India's first Mahatma ever.
जी, yeah.
जैसे महात्मा नाम सुनते हैं सबके दिमाग में सिर्फ महात्मा गांधी ही आते हैं.
बिल्कुल, हाँ.
ज़्यादातर. So he was the first Mahatma.
Yeah.
हमने स्कूल में जितना पढ़ा था उतना ही पता था. I had never thought that I will be given this opportunity. I was thrilled. और जब पूरी कहानी पढ़ी, सुनी, पूरा नरेशन दिया सर ने, so there are so many points that moved me. I literally got goosebumps that these points, these lines, these anecdotes, these situations are currently also equally relevant or even more than earlier.
Right. Amazing.
So it is a huge statement on us as society.
Right, bilkul, yeah.
No, it was sheer providence because, I would have gone and cast him after seeing Scam, but then he would have thought that I'm probably riding on the success of Scam. But we got an opportunity to work together in Scam. So when we did the scenes together, I was like, visualizing something.
Right.
So it didn't sound like I was just patronizing him. I knew I wanted this person to play Phule.
Right. Yes, you want to tell us what is it like to play her? How you are an independent woman in what you do. She was, of course, a next level independent woman. What plays on your mind on a daily basis since you signed this film?
What played on my mind was I was very thrilled to work with Ananth sir. And of course, Pratik, the time that the film was offered to me, Scam had just come out. And I was like, oh my God, like this is really amazing.
Yeah.
And of course, I read about Savritibai Phule back in school.
Yeah.
And she's this humongous figure in Maharashtra. And anywhere you go, there will be posters of them and photos of them. So for a minute, I was like, is that even true? But it was an opportunity that I couldn't have missed.
Right. Do you want to tell people who are watching this, of course they'll watch the film after this, what stood out, Ananth, for you personally about their story? There were reforms, there was education, there was equality, so much they did for the society. Personally, what stands out for you?
See, when I set out, part of it was answered by Pratik. When I set out to make a film, I said, why this film?
Yeah.
That's a very important question.
Correct. Yeah.
And am I simply making a biopic that is historically relevant? Or am I making something that is relevant even today? And like Pratik correctly said, I think the social ills that Savitribai and Jyotiba, identified and fought and tried to reform. Unfortunately and sadly, we've carried them over the generations right up till today. Today we are still fighting gender discrimination, we are still fighting education for women, we are still fighting equality, casteism, everything that you can name. And they were the people who on their own, actually sought to eradicate society of these evils, and that was a very, very brave step because they were all by themselves and there was tremendous opposition. So I guess the relevance of a film or a film that stays with you even after so many decades, that was what made me choose this subject, because like I said, it's shocking that they remain relevant even today, and we are, of course, following in their footsteps to make society, a better place to live in.
Right.
And it is, I just adding a couple of things. This is beyond only a typical survival instinct of human. Because they've gone beyond that. They've faced all odds.
Yeah.
They were against the forces, societal forces, political forces back then. They were beaten. They're entirely humiliated in all possible ways.
Correct, yeah.
They were thrown out of their own houses.
Yeah.
People named them everything possible. But still they did what they did without fear. So I guess that fearlessness is something that we need in today's time. और लास्ट में as you must have seen in the trailer also,
धर्म और जाति के नाम पे,
धर्म और जाति के नाम पे अपने देश में कुछ भी करवाना बहुत आसान है। ये लाइन अगर तब की है, I don't know in the world how relevant it is today.
And that line says कि ये भविष्य में भी होगा और that's
so क्रांति की जोत को जलाए रखना, and the meaning of क्रांति, if we see, it's not only violence, it's never violence. Kranti is something that comes from within.
But you know, it's a great line. But today, do we have that Kranti in us? Do we see? Do you all see that? Because वो जुनून है किसमें to be like, I'll do the right thing. Do you see those? Do you come across those people? Patralekhaa, you?
I mean, I feel like in today's social media times, people are so into their phones and I don't know, back when I was younger, you know, an Independence Day and patriotism meant something, but the world shifted so quickly in the last decade or even so after the pandemic that I don't know what, I mean, how are we actually seeing the country and a love for the country and just to reform a society? I don't think so. Now it's become more I. It's about me, myself, my survival story.
It's exactly this indifference which makes this film important today.
Absolutely.
You know? It's like an antidote to what is happening in society.
Absolutely.
But why is that madness missing? You know, all that generations that got us freedom that we enjoy today, that madness has gone. You know, वो जुनून चला गया, वो किसी में नहीं दिखता है. According to you, what would that be? You've read so much about all this.
You see, sometimes some people are made of a different metal, you know, and they are made of a different mindset. And I think we're fortunate that Savritibai and Jyotirao Phule had that kind of a mindset. Savritibai, even when she was just married as a child, she wanted to read. And Jyotirao says, okay, I'll educate you. You know, I'll make you the first woman teacher. I mean, this kind of progressive thoughts. Today, we don't have, and we don't have those innovative thoughts today. We are all, like she said, we are so full of ourselves. We just want to sort of promote ourselves and make sure that we, you know, attain a place somewhere that we don't think of the society and the country and the world at large. So they were the couple of the future. I would say it wasn't even history. I think it's a futuristic film.
That's really well put.
Yeah. In fact, in what I see and the way I understand is that most of the people, the society, the countries around the world, everybody is busy in creating perception, not doing something right.
Perception, yeah.
So before I do something, that's not important, even not even to me. What is important to me is to create a correct perception about me to the world. So that is keeping you away from action constantly.
True. You know, she did so much for women's education. Do you see, when you talk to women around, when you talk to other girls, when we talk to our house help and everyone, do you think we have progressed in that?
So I'll tell you why did the script also resonate so deeply with me. My grandmother, during the partition, we came from Bangladesh. My grandparents came walking to Shillong because it was the closest. And my grandmother got married when she was very young, about 11, 12. And then she gave birth to her first son at the age of 13 or 14. And then when she started educating him, like he went to school, he started going to school, he eventually ended up becoming a doctor. My grandmother took all the exams that he took, both of them took together. And then she became a graduate and then she became a poet. She's got books that she's written. So I thought that this is where I came from, you know, and that's why it resonated so much with me, Savritibai story. But having said that, Savritibai and Jyotirao Phule are people everybody resonates with. I mean, my cook today, she's a Maharashtrian. She came home and she was like, Didi, I could see how happy she was. She had no idea I did this film, but I could just see she was brimming with happiness and pride, and what an important part of the Marathi culture they are. And it's strange, once I had gone to Goa about a year back and I got into the taxi and they had Jyotiba's sculpture in it.
Nice.
People actually worship them
Yeah,
as
they
gods.
worship them.
And they were actually gods.
Rightly so. You know what? And also, they didn't fight there was no war. These were not physical battles. This is not no violence. They fought through through the acts. That's what stands out.
I feel like they were really smart people.
Yeah.
You know, they knew what, especially like while I was going through the script and we were doing the scenes, I just saw how tactfully Jyotiba actually kind of maneuvered his way around without. I feel like he also believed in non-violence a lot.
No, she's very right, because he was a very strategic character. He took everything that is positive from the British and rejected everything that was negative. Amazing. That he did not want. So he was a very well balanced person.
Right. You know, since there's so much out there, what have you shown in this particular film? You know, there are incidents that we all know that he went for a wedding and he was asked to leave because of the caste issue. She had adopted a son, then her death. What all of this have you shown?
It's all there. It's either shown or mentioned. Okay. We've tried not to miss out on any vital points. So it's all there in some form or the other.
Right. You know, when you sign something like that, do you go back and video evidence तो तब का था नहीं, कोई tapes तो नहीं है, लेकिन what do you go and read, research? Script is of course the main thing, but would you like to see what's on the internet?
Internet largely is little risky that
dangerous
way. Though you read, you understand, but everything with pinch of salt.
Right.
Because it's an open medium. You don't know the authentic source of what you're reading, right?
नहीं, कुछ अच्छी चीजें हैं इंटरनेट पे, जैसे भारत एक कोच का एक एपिसोड है 20 मिनट का, और भी एक दो डॉक्यूमेंटरीज है डीडी की. कुछ देखा आपने, कुछ मन हुआ?
नहीं, उसमें से तो मैंने कुछ नहीं देखा है, but mostly whatever that he shared, apart from the script also, there are a lot of anecdotes, there are a lot of write-ups about him, and then there are a lot of friends who shared certain things which I read. And I personally wanted to approach this character from the human angle of it. As I generally keep saying about all the these biopic characters that I have done, I don't want to mimic them. I don't want to want to look like them.
Right.
It is just that what must have happened in their brains and their hearts when they did what they did is something open for interpretation.
Right.
But very magically, the two of them, I mean, if you see the sketches of Jyotiba and Savritibai Phule, there were no photographs of them.
That's like this.
It's virtually like they walked out of the sketches.
Yeah, they really did.
So it was pure magic.
Absolutely. It is everything about it from what we see. Since you only said, they were worshipped, and when you're playing someone who's worshipped by so many, it's a bit of a responsibility also, you keep in mind.
It's scary. You're questioning yourself every day. I mean, are these the shoes that you really want to fill in? I had met a very senior Marathi actress, and she took me to her side and she told me, listen, I hope you understand what you're doing.
Yeah, these things are.
And it was obviously, you're scared, but I just feel like Ananth sir he was so clear about the material he had. He had so much confidence in me. I'm sure even Pratik. So I don't know, that kind of, I had just shut down. Also, they did something very, very smart. They took me out of the city. We were shooting somewhere in the interiors of Maharashtra. We didn't even have network properly. And for the first 3 days, I was like, oh my God, I can't do this. This feels really a lot. But I don't know, I think that process really helped me. And I think I had just cut off from the world for a certain time.
Especially for this, it's important, right? To be
very important.
Very
important to cut down the noise around you.
And also, talking about Pratik is, he very seamlessly does things. He's never in your face saying that, oh look, that's how much he's a very cool guy who walks into your set, you're like, okay, but the moment the camera is on, he just becomes a beast.
We've seen that in many
No, the effortlessness of both of them is what I think is the highlight of the performance of this film, because for me it's very important that no one acts in the film. They are the characters, and how would the characters behave, talk, speak. So we made everything very conversational. Although there was a lot of, high-flowing dialogue, but we tried to keep it as natural and real as possible.
Wow. you said you don't want to mimic, obviously, but then, how do you get the mannerisms of someone you've not seen but was a real person? Who do you talk to? What do you...
So there are so many things, and there are the qualities that I want to understand and listen to or read about.
Okay.
Like for Jyotirao Phule also, he also told me, and there are a lot of people who who have read a lot about him, told me that he was physically very fit.
Oh, nice.
He could have fought 10 people at a time.
Wow.
Akhade mein jate the, kasrat karte the, and whatever that he's seen in his life has made him a strong personality. But he never resorted to violence. He never took that violence as a tool. So that kind of a person, and only this much also tells a lot about a person and personality.
Yeah, kya baat
Mentally
hai.
क्या strength होगा इनका कि एक बार जो सोच लिया वो करेंगे ही. He was a practical guy. He studied back then he took enough education to understand the politics and the society around them, so that he could play them.
Yeah.
So he's the guy who actually took contracts from the government,
Right.
earn money, and use that money for the reforms.
Right. Amazing.
Now, so these things are good enough for me as an actor to understand the personality and create that for you.
Right. And during the most violent times, these few people use non-violence in such a beautiful way, right? Like, what stands out for you?
See, it's trying to read into the psyche of the people who are resorting to this kind of injustice, Like there's a lovely scene between him and the Pahalwan in Lahuji Maharaj in the film, where he says, do you really think you can fight the British with might?
Yeah.
You need intellect to fight, and that is where we come in as a couple. We are trying to educate the oppressed and bring them up to a point where they will also be sort of intelligent enough to fight the forces we are trying to fight.
Right.
But for that, we got to put our house in order first.
Right.
And then we move on to the next. So it's that kind of attitude that helped them, that use brain more than brawn to, otherwise bloodshed and others violence will get you nowhere.
Yeah, true. Yeah. But like when you finish a schedule of like a film like that and go back home, do you take it, because these are very strong things happening in her life, that you are literally playing that person? Even her death, she had tried to help someone else and she got plagued. That's what these. Do you take back home? How much of it keeps playing?
I was going back home every weekend.
Okay.
I needed that break, but of course it does leave a mark on you. Like I don't know how much I can say, but obviously they passed away, and we captured that scene.
Right.
That day, those 3 days were very difficult for me, because also I just felt like she was there with me.
Yeah.
It's strange, I know, it sounds strange, but that morning, and the set was really far away, and I got off my car, and there was a small office, and it was so strange that I get down my car and I look up, and there was her photo. And I was like, oh my God, is this like some divine something that we are going to shoot her death sequence? And I don't know, those were the moments which were very difficult, not because it's not because you're dying or something, but this whole life that has been lived by these two people, and the things, how they have reformed the society. There was another scene I remember when Jyotiba and Savritibai are in front of people, and Jyotiba is saying that, and only he's speaking, and there was pin drop silence, and suddenly I was like, it did something to me.
Yeah,
and
I remember you told me that.
And I was so taken back. So during the shoot, at least for me as an actor, you don't know when you're right there and how it really affects you. Though we would finish the shoot off early, like
I remember,
before time.
I remember the tear in your eye.
I was devastated. I was devastated.
It just flowed, and I said, these people aren't acting anymore.
Very strong. For her, like that scene, for you, what stayed?
There are so many things. In fact, this particular scene that happens with her, that sequence that happened with Savritibai, when they are trying to educate girls, and समाज के जो ठेकेदार थे, that certain set of people who never liked it, they were opposing us, and then they start throwing mud and cow dung at her.
Yeah, that's what I'm trailer.
So Savritibai comes home completely broken, devastated, and fuming from within with helplessness. So the way the couple dealt with that situation actually made me think that what are we talking about in today's world? हर छोटी बात हमें इरिटेटिंग लगती है, हर छोटी बात पे हमें गुस्सा आता है, बट उसमें से रास्ता निकाल के इतना बड़ा रिफॉर्म लेके आना इज नॉट अ जोक. बिकॉज इफ यू टेल समबडी दिस स्टोरी कि उन पे ऐसा ये कर दिया गया, फिर भी उन्होंने हिम्मत नहीं हारी और इन्होंने ये कर दिया. आई कैन वेरी वेल से दिस इन वन लाइन. आई कैन गिव यू दैट इन्फॉर्मेशन. But the moment you see that happening and the moment you perform these things, I guess it actually moves you from within. The kind of strength that you need, it's unparalleled.
Amazing. You know, lastly, to all three of you, if you were to talk to the audience and tell them what should what should they learn from them? Today's kids who are going to college, who are going to come in the real world to work, what should they always remember about them?
No, I just feel like saying that after making a film like Phule and living these characters as a director and living with two actors who personified them for me, I would say look beyond you, look within you, and you'll find that there is so much to achieve, so much distance to travel, and so much to change. And we can make this world a much, much, much better place to live in. Why aren't we mentally or physically inclined to do that? I think these two characters, when you see this film and you see them, you might just get a whole new surge of inspiration. It might just end up changing your thought process and the person within you. And I think that catharsis is what this film would eventually end up giving.
Right, beautiful, absolutely amazing. Pratik, what do you want to tell them? What should they always remember? You played the character, the man himself. What stays with you that they should also remember?
I think what stayed with me, it's there in the last line of the trailer also.
Yes.
Kranti ki jyot ko jalaye rakhna. That's the only way forward in your life. And having said that, I guess watch this film, take the context, and apply that context in any situation and you'll find answers.
Amazing, right. Patralekhaa, kya bolna chahenge? What do you want to tell them?
I just want everyone to go and watch the film because it's a very relevant part of our history, our society. I just feel like, me as a woman, I'm sitting here. Somewhere Savritibai and Jyotirao needs to be credited because they uplifted the women of our country, and I feel it's a beautiful part of history that everybody should watch.
Right. So 11th April, I'll see you all in cinema. Great. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much.
Really nice talking to you.
Same,
One of the best subjects that you all could have picked.